What I'm going to share with you is the one single strategy, the client demand blueprint. And this is relevant to any service based B2B organization. So that could be boutique consulting firms, tech organizations, SaaS, agencies, right? Anything where you are selling something that is essentially air to another company. And I think the reason that this is such a critical issue to solve is that we see organizations in these spaces consistently struggling with issues around getting new clients, filling the top of the funnel chock full of opportunities. And we'll talk more about why that really is, but solving this issue is so key. And so I actually share some kind of sample survey data that we see over and over and over again when it comes to consulting organizations, SaaS, tech, agencies struggling to get new leads. And remember, solving that problem of getting new leads also solves a lot of later on down the pipeline sales problems. So let's dive right in. I think the best way to actually demonstrate the client demand blueprint is actually to just show you how it worked for one of our clients. So I'm going to introduce you to Greg, who is the CEO of Churn RX. They are a boutique consulting firm that help SaaS companies scale revenues by reducing customer churn and increasing retention. So you don't have to know everything about it, but obviously what's important is that Greg's organization was a very solid business, but there were a lot of ups and downs, ebbs and flows, particularly because he was taking very large swings. He was going after very large projects, and at the same time, he had very inconsistent at bats. So, on average, he would get about 8 to 12 really, really strong opportunities per year. And any organization that's in this type of a situation knows that that means that some years are going to be amazing and some years are going to be lean. And just to dive into what he already had done in order to drive demand, to drive top of funnel, were a few key things, right? So he had done what a lot of the kind of marketing gurus had told him to do. He had written a lot of ebooks. He was very active on social media, particularly LinkedIn, and he was doing SEO, and he was active in organizations, trade associations, and he was speaking and he was networking, and at the same time, of course, he was building referrals. And I think this is a very typical mix that we see for organizations like this, where it's like there's no repeatable way to consistently drive new leads. There's no way to step on the gas to generate more high quality opportunities. It's like you're kind of working off what you have, and it's hard to get to that next level. And so at the same time, what really didn't work was cold outreach. And by cold outreach, I mean particularly leveraging email, LinkedIn outreach, or phone dialers, SDRs, as a way to drive new opportunities, new appointments, anything like that. And it particularly doesn't work in like boutique consulting. You know, if you're selling like a very small offering for SaaS or something, cold outreach can work. But I find that like when you're going for those big opportunities, cold outreach tends not to work. And so just as an example, something that Greg had done is that he had reached out to about 5,000 CEOs, done a cold email campaign to 5,000 CEOs before we met him. As a result of that, that led to about 5 ice cold meetings. And by ice cold, I mean like arms crossed, who are you? Give me your best pitch, and 0 deals. And so I think this is a pretty typical thing that we see in today's marketplace where it's like, yeah, maybe you'll get some responses, but it's mostly do not contacts and not interested, and people just telling you to go away. And at the same time, because so often the big opportunities require that we get in front of that C-suite person, the CEO, CFO, you know, in his case, CCO or CRO, right? It's just like these are high level folks. And if we just say, hey, I do consulting, or we have a tech platform, right? They're like, I don't need that, right? And so there's no way to consistently get that engine going. And so one thing that we're obsessed with solving here, and I think we have solved it, is creating that engine to turn cold opportunities into, or cold leads into warm opportunities into paying clients. And so this is like the central challenge that I've spent my business life trying to solve. And so what we see here is like, this is not a business, this is a practice because there's no consistent way to convert those folks. And so just from a methodology perspective, what we see a lot of organizations in this world dealing with is they have a really high quality offering, yet their demand generation is not good. And so they're over here. So they're kind of on this axis. And so they're in this best kept secret category. And so the question is always, how do we get back into this dominant category? And that requires that we have a way to get in front of those key buyers. And usually it's a singular strategy that can get us like one kind of central hub that gets in front of those senior level folks. And in Greg's case, getting in front of those senior leaders of SaaS firms to consistently generate high quality opportunities. And so here's what we actually did, and this is what we do over and over again, is leveraging the client demand blueprint. And so the client demand blueprint, as it pertains to boutique consulting firms, SaaS organizations, tech companies, marketing agencies, right, it's all the same, which is basically this one idea, which is hosting live virtual events where you share your best stuff, right? Or IP, intellectual property, right? In front of your ideal customer profile or your ICP who has the challenges that you solve. And this is a huge one, right? They can't just be like, you can't just get in front of senior leaders. You've got to get in front of people who have the challenges that you solve. And that they see you as the leader that kind of brought everyone together. And this is the client demand blueprint. This is where we're just like, absolutely, this is the sweet spot. And so this strategy is basically taken what's always worked to drive service businesses, which is like thought leadership, expertise. It's a lot of the same stuff that you hear when it comes to like developing SEO or speaking, right? But then took that tried and true method and combined it with cold prospecting and then really modernized it by making it virtual. And so what we implemented with Churn RX was the following. We had a monthly, and we still do this for Churn. We run a monthly virtual executive roundtable. And so here's the overview: is every month there is an executive roundtable where we reach out to and bring together a group of, in his case, CEOs, founders, CCOs, which is chief commercial officers, CROs, so like really senior level people at larger SaaS companies. And then he would facilitate and host a discussion where he could essentially get his prospects talking and then he could kind of strut his stuff. And so now what happens in this roundtable strategy is all of the demand generation efforts, all the focus is all around one key concept, which is butts in seats. And this is a really important concept because now it's like all the other scattered stuff, it just focuses on one thing. And so then what we do is we use the client demand blueprint to really kind of like identify and scrape his data on his ideal customer profile and then run automated and personalized outreach campaigns to his ICP, leveraging email, LinkedIn, and phone dialers, SDRs. And so what's amazing too is that this is a literal screenshot that I'm sharing with you. Executive roundtables are really the only call to action that we have consistently seen working well in this marketplace for high-end services. So again, B2B services, so consulting, boutique consulting, high-end SaaS offerings, tech services, agency, like it's the only call to action that consistently works. And it's because we're not selling anything in the outreach. And so this is actually just a screenshot from our campaigns for Churn. So basically a 2.5% to 3% reply rate, and a nearly 2% interested rate, and then about 0.5% of people that actually RSVP. So if you're familiar with cold outreach in today's world, those are really, really good stats. And plus, what's amazing is that the people who do actually attend have self-selected into the meeting based on the outreach copy. So they usually have the challenges that the that you solve. And this is really important because it's not like people are doing you any favors, right? These are prospects that literally have no idea who, in this case, Greg and Churn is, and they're coming because they have a problem to solve. And at the same time, we would also invite existing clients to come to the roundtable along with his prospects. And so it creates this like really nice virtuous kind of cycle of one central strategy, right? Engaging new clients and existing clients, demonstrating massive value and landing much larger projects. So let me just share with you, oh, and just, yeah, this is a kind of a screenshot of the inbox, right? Compared to that kind of like the really, I'll just show you back here, the really gnarly, like like that's a real inbox. And then this is a real inbox of the outreach here where it's like, yeah, there's some people who are like, go away, but for the most part, it's like the greens and the purples are really good, right? And so it's a completely different experience in terms of the outreach because people are like genuinely psyched to come to an event. So let me just share with you the numbers on how this works. So typically a roundtable, as we try to target them for someone like Churn, is we're looking to get about 15 RSVPs to then get about 10 attendees. So that's actually 10 people that show. And then out of that, it's 2 to 4 ultra qualified meetings. And that comes, by the way, from 2 sources: instant, so people actually in the event kind of using a Calendly link, and then also from follow-up. So like we do the follow-up as well. And then this leads to typically 2 to 3 opportunities, and then somewhere, approximately 1 client a month. 1 new sale per month. And again, the close rate's much higher because these are warm opportunities. They've seen them in action. And so this kind of really transforms a practice with very unpredictable pipeline into a business. And, off of just the first roundtable that we did with Churn, they closed a $400,000 project, 35K per month, 1-year project, $400,000, right? Simply just like a banger of an opportunity because they got to see him in action. And so this strategy basically takes everything that many organizations are already doing, but really driving it in one direction. And so kind of turning that scattered approach into a focused and effective strategy. And so that's why we started the Lead Gen Roundtable. I had the same problem in my consulting organization, and we discovered this strategy. And so I've now focused all of our energy on helping other consulting organizations, SaaS, tech, agencies, any kind of B2B services, high-end services organization driving ultra qualified leads with a roundtable strategy. And so, one of the things that we always challenge people to do is to take some action. Even if you're watching this and you're not ready to, have a conversation with us, that's fine. But what's one thing that you can start to implement in your organization to get closer to this? And since, of course, I do hope that you do leverage the roundtable strategy to drive client demand, I just want to demonstrate how the call to action typically works in a roundtable, just like you would in your own roundtable. And so basically, it would look something like this, which is that if you got value out of this training, out of this video, and you're good to go on your own, awesome. That is part of our mission to help organizations drive just truly high quality pipeline. But if you do want to skip the trial and error and you'd like to explore how the Lead Gen Roundtable might be able to do the hard work for you and use this exact same roundtable strategy to grow your organization, then let's chat. Basically, what we do is we implement the entire process for you. We fill your events, we help you create a cadence of events, and then we run our process to get your ideal customers in it. So whether it's CEOs, founders, COOs, owners, MDs, CHROs, SMBs, right, in mid-cap, enterprise, medical, and we do it using the client demand blueprint in a partnership model. So basically you or someone key in your organization shows up, shares the best stuff, the best IP, facilitates the roundtables and leads the roundtables, and then your organization does what you guys do best, which is to close the deals. And we really kind of do all the back behind the scenes of the follow-up, get the attendees there, set the ultra qualified meetings, and then ultimately you close them. And so again, here are just some some messages that we received on deals that were closed, like right off the bat from early roundtables. So we basically do all that tricky stuff. So if that's you and you'd like to explore how to really kind of partner on this, let's book a client demand strategy session. I will share the link on this video so you'll have access to it right now. And basically in this session, we'll just talk about how many opportunities you need, who's your ideal customer, and what does your offer look like, and of course discuss realistic budgets for working together. And that's really it. And I just want to point out, we run this same process all the time. So if you'd like to actually come to one of our roundtables to experience it, we're happy to do that because we do eat our own dog food here. That is where 90% of our opportunities come from, is by leveraging this exact same process. So if you want to explore what we did for Churn, but with your ideal clients, let's talk. And so just click the link in this video to book a call, and we'll make sure that what you do is the right fit, and then we can talk about exactly how it all works.